And now, live in studio, cutting through your typical media nonsense and offering you a rational and unbiased perspective on current events and life in Tampa Bay. He's a successful entrepreneur, published author, top listing agent, a real estate and finance expert that goes to bat for you every day as a consumer advocate. Your host and the consumer quarterback, Brandon Rhymes.
Welcome in. You're listening to the Consumer Quarterback Show with Brandon Rhymes. Brandon's on vacation today. My name is James DeJerome. I'm the executive producer of the Consumer Quarterback Show, and we've still assembled our partners together, and we're going to provide you the same information and knowledge that we always do every day. And we're going to tell you something positive, as Brandon's mission is to create a random act of kindness, and I got something very good in the feel-good section for you today. We have our like I said, our team is here. Jose back there on the board for our Salem Media Group. All you radio listeners out there hearing us up and down the West Coast. Rob is here from WeBeam TV. If you want to check out the TV show every weekdays, 10 a.m., WeBeamTV.com. In addition, we're located on other digital platforms, Roku, Apple, Fire. You can find the TV show out there, YouTube. So take a look for the Consumer Quarterback Show. You'll find all our partners. Of course, we're worldwide at ConsumerQB.com, and go online and check us all out there. And we've got a bunch of great sponsors as well as our partners on the program. One of our sponsors is Replenish IV Solutions. Replenish IV Solutions, I don't know if you're familiar with this concept, but these folks will come right to your door, your home, your business, and give you an infused drip right into your arm. IV solution can be vitamins, can boost your immunity, really key to your health. Nowadays, with all that's going on in terms of the COVID situation and people worried about their immunity, why don't you check out Replenish IV Solutions, give them a call and see if Steve and Lisa Gunnan can't do something for you. It's certainly something that you'll want to do once you get see what the benefits are. Again, it's Replenish IV Solutions, one of our sponsors on the show. In addition, of course, Brandon is a member of the Keller Williams team. He owns Platinum MVP Realty. He's got properties for you, even in this scarce inventory that we're facing here in the Bay Area. I'm going to go over a few properties for you if I could real quick. I got an opportunity for you at 520 George Street. I want to read it to you here one sec. Look at this property here in Tarpon Springs. Bring your boat, jet skis, stand-up paddleboards, and fish from your very own dock. Gorgeous lakefront home. Lake Tarpon is 2,500-acre lake, largest in Tampa Bay. This spot has a separate mother-in-law suite, air conditioning unit, family room, dining room, kitchen, two separate entrances, the ability to have separate parties going on there. Its approximate rents are calculated for you. It has all kinds of extras built in, yoga, meditation space overlooking the lake. Man, check that one out, 520 George Street. I got another one here at 422 Wildwood Way in Bel Air. This is a fantastic two-story Bel Air home. Just got a roof put on in July. Beautiful 3-bedroom, 2-bath, wonderful part of Tampa, high-end community, right near a golf course. Man, that is sharp looking, 422 Wildwood. And then, of course, our last one here I'm going to tell you about is at 6417 Yvette Drive, Hudson, Florida. This one is bring your boat and jet skis, waterfront home, 2-2, one-car garage, great opportunity to live the Florida lifestyle in Hudson Beach Estates. Deep saltwater canal, close to the wide open waters of the Gulf of Mexico. This home has gorgeous tile throughout. Man, what a cool, a large living room, dining room, separate den, office, and a new roof. So 6417 Yvette Drive in Hudson. Check that one out. One of the most important things we have on the show is our partners. Today we have Diane Vance. She's from Fairway Independent Mortgage. She's going to tell you all about what you can do to be ready to pull the trigger in this very quick selling and buying environment that we're in. And then, of course, Richard Alexander, our legal expert, coming by to tell us about his experiences as an educator and, of course, what he sees in the courtroom on a daily basis as a lawyer here litigating in the Tampa Bay area. And we got a feel-good story for you because it is Brandon's mission to make sure that our random act of kindness and a feel-good story creates a positive mood on the show. And this one today is very good. I got a story today about an interaction between a woman whose son was murdered and the police officers who responded and tried to help that situation. You may think, well, we've heard a lot about protests and police and negativity. It's not what you're going to hear from us today. So don't go anywhere. Make sure that you stay tuned because you want to hear that feel-good story. It's the kind of thing that can change your day. I want to inspire you a little bit. Again, it's the Consumer Quarterback Show with Brandon Rhymes. Brandon has given me the opportunity. I want to thank him for letting me come in today. Check us out, please. Learn about the Consumer Quarterback Show online, ConsumerQB.com.
Thanks for listening to my daddy's show. For more information, go to ConsumerQB.com.
To get in touch with Brandon, call 813-670-7372. Online at ConsumerQB.com. You're listening to the Consumer Quarterback, Brandon Rhymes, online at consumerqb.com. Brandon is Tampa Bay's #1 consumer advocate for real estate and financial advice. Call Brandon today at 813-670-7372.
That's right. You can always give Brandon a call for all your real estate needs. He and Keller Williams are out there working for you. It is a crazy real estate market in Tampa Bay currently. We've got a really low inventory and lots of people out there looking to buy. So we're going to talk with Diane Vance, our mortgage expert here on the Consumer Quarterback Show, about what she's seeing in the market. And she's got some tips and always some ideas for folks out there that are a little apprehensive about maybe making this big initial investment, that big first purchase, your largest asset. So I want to bring her in. Diane, tell me, you're busy, of course. I hear that properties, once they're on the market, last for about an hour.
Oh, yeah. We're seeing multiple offers. So I can tell everybody listening or anybody that you know that is thinking about purchasing, they want to get pre-approved so they can compete. If they don't get pre-approved, your offer will not be accepted. We're seeing it time and time again. I'm seeing some, especially first-time home buyers, that those buyers that up to about $400,000, even above that, we're actually seeing more than one offer. So it's been a very busy spring because interest rates are the lowest they've ever been, and there's not a lot of inventory on the market. So when they do come on, they go fast.
And we're not even just talking about competing with other Floridians or Tampa Bay citizens. We're talking about the entire country trying to move down here.
Absolutely. So, the taxes in Florida, you don't have a state income tax. So a lot of people are coming to Florida. Plus the weather's absolutely beautiful all the time. So you can be outside whenever you want to. So it's definitely a win-win for a lot of people moving. And we do have a lot of people moving from different states that have taxes. So they're trying to escape the taxes. I just talked to somebody today, matter of fact, from Kentucky, and they're moving down here, and that's the reason they're moving down here. A lot of retired people are moving down here. A lot of people are coming down and getting jobs. A lot of teachers recently are transferring to Florida. They were teachers in other states, and they're coming down here. Exactly why what I'm talking about is because of that, because they are seeing that, that it's expensive where they live, so they can see more in their paycheck by moving to Florida.
You read the stories about people trying to escape the urban situation. I think the COVID-19 certainly exacerbated that, where they felt like they needed to get away, whether it's a second house to go to if you needed one, or just an idea that we're going to get out to the suburbs. It certainly seems to be like a move away from the urban environment, more into the city. I mean, away from the city, rather.
Yeah, and well, if you think about it, I'm sure the COVID-19 has sort of made a lot of people think differently. I mean, I live in a house. My children grew up here, and of course now I don't have any children at home. Right. So I thought I was one of those people that maybe I'll go to a downtown, maybe downtown St. Pete. It's a gorgeous area, but then I rethought about it because of COVID-19. I think a lot of people are doing that because they do want space to walk around and be outside. But even if you're in a condo downtown, you're still going to be able to do those things. It's just people are just rethinking their thoughts, right. Especially the areas that you have to use mass transit. So, if you live my son lives in Chicago. Well, he doesn't have a car. Well, after COVID, guess what? He doesn't want to ride the train and get in an Uber. So guess what? We're shipping in one of our cars because, it's the whole thought process has changed. As long as it's around, people are working from home. So they're thinking about, okay, can I have an office at home? Maybe I need to upgrade my house. Right. Maybe I need to move into a different house because I can work from home now. On my brother-in-law's brother, he just sold his house and he moved because he was able to work remotely now, so he can live anywhere he wants to. So he doesn't have to stay in the area that he had to go show up at an office. They're allowing him to work wherever remotely. So hence a lot of people are moving to Florida because of that reason.
And now folks are also going to take the equity they have in their house and try to renovate or upgrade because they're spending more time in the house. Have you seen folks come to you with an effort to try to find a way to get some little more money out of their situation?
For several reasons. One is they want to upgrade because they're figuring, okay, interest rates are low, so this is the time to refinance. but also upgrade in case they want to move and maybe sell their house. Some people haven't upgraded for years,
Right.
so they need to modernize their house to be able to, and and their rate of return will be better than what, if they didn't do it. They're gonna, we all watch HGTV, and those houses look perfect. So anyway.
It seems like a safe spot to park your money. It's your house.
Oh yeah, it's definitely, well, and you have appreciation on houses. You still do. We're actually seeing it, especially in Florida. It's not slowing down. It is. Everybody thought that the COVID-19 would actually slow down real estate.
Right.
Fairway is up 70%.
Yeah,
Matter of fact, we are hiring underwriters. We are hiring processors, loan assistants, because we are so busy. We need those people. And Fairway is, like I said, up for the year. 70% of their volume has increased. And now, if the industry that has, the industry has, trillions of dollars, of course. And if everybody actually either decide to sell and purchase or refinance, whatever, you don't have enough people in the industry to actually handle that. So Fairway is an awesome company. We've gotten the number one mortgage company to work for 5 years in a row.
How about that?
So we call it Fairway Disney. But anyway, so they're a great company. So I suggest that if you want to upgrade, whether to stay
right.
or resell, and we're seeing people also pull equity out of their house to pay off their debt.
Sure.
I had a young man that, he's able to, his payment actually increased because he's increasing his debt, but he's paying off like $500 a month in monthly payments. So he's ahead by like $450.
Yeah, that's why you need a mortgage expert like Diane Vance at Fairway Independent Mortgage, because you may have factors that have influenced you may be over, under, you never really know where you're sitting until you have somebody check the rate and see what they can do for you.
Correct. And I'm really careful about, I just don't refinance somebody to refinance them. I am not that loan officer. If it does not make sense, I don't do it. And I suggest that to the customer. So depending on what their situation is, I like to see how long are they going to stay in the house? Is it a plan to actually maybe resell? So all those things make a difference. So, it may not be, when I talk to somebody, it may not be the best time, or it may be that, I have another idea for them depending on their situation.
Hey, Diane, could you just run through a scenario where you maybe advise against that? Because I see so many people that can't wait to pull that equity out. What's an example of someone that maybe is making a mistake or doing that prematurely?
Yeah, if you are planning on selling, so Florida closing costs are higher than the rest of the states, or one of the highest. They're not higher than some of the other states, but they're a little higher than most states because you don't pay income tax. So every time you finance a mortgage, you are paying doc stamps and tangible tax. You're paying taxes through that, and
right.
Florida sets up promulgated rates, so your closing costs are going to be higher here. So if you're planning on selling a house within the next 2 to 3 years, what we do is we look at the interest to the interest. So no matter how much interest are you paying now, how much interest are you going to pay on the new loan? We divide that out by the closing costs, and does it make sense? And are you going to stay in that house for that period of time that's going to take you to recoup those closing costs? So if you have a savings, so depending whether you're trying to pay off, charge cards or whatever it is, we look at, okay, how much are you paying interest on those charge cards? Does it make sense? So you try to analyze and the length of time. If somebody calls me and says, I'm thinking about selling within the next year and a half or 2 years, it's probably not the best thing to do. Now, unless they're paying a really high interest rate.
Right.
But most people are not paying high interest rates. So it just really depends on the length of time the person's staying there, how much it costs, what is their goal. And, but if they're planning on selling right away, probably not the best idea to do.
So another thing you need to consider in that situation is perhaps getting a mortgage professional to forecast the market a little bit. You got to look ahead and kind of see what you think the trend's going to be. How long can we stay kind of at this rate? I mean, it's a unique situation we're in.
It is unique. Now, I'm not an economist, but
right.
They are predicting that interest rates are going to stay low for a very long time. What does that mean? Don't know. But they are predicting that it's going to take some time. The feds are, of course, they're keeping the economy going pretty much, especially in the mortgage world. So they are pumping money into the mortgage-backed securities. So they're trying to prop those up a little bit. Corporate earnings are coming out. I think some of them are not as bad as expected. So, interest rates are, there is a time when, people keep thinking rates are going to drop, they're going to drop, they're going to drop. Well, there's a time when that's not a healthy thing to do. So it's not a healthy atmosphere, and it actually has the opposite effect. But they are predicting rates are going to stay low for a while. However, nobody knows the future. Right. We get a vaccine, or we get something that, something to treat everybody, that they don't get as sick where they have to go in the hospital or something like that. You're going to see this economy change and change quickly. So it's, we're actually doing quite well, better than I think everybody expected.
Yeah, given the circumstances, certainly.
Yes.
Yeah.
But houses are going fast. Like I said, it is not 2008, 2009. That is not what's going on in the housing industry. People are selling their houses and are wanting to buy houses. And people that are selling their houses, they're actually shocked that they sell their houses. I had somebody, they're like, I thought it might take a few days, a few weeks. No, it took like literally 2 days for them to get multiple offers. Yeah. So they were able to get the best offer. And sometimes the highest offer isn't always the best offer. It just depends on the situation.
Okay.
So we have a lot of that happening. They were a little surprised it happened so quickly. And people will come in and they'll tell me that, I don't want to buy something not knowing if I am approved to buy something. So it's always a good idea, even in the thinking stage. If you think you're going to sell your property, get pre-approved before you actually put your house on the market.
That makes sense. Hey, Diane, I hear Brandon use the term move-up buyer all the time. So it's someone who's trying to take that next step in terms of stepping up in the value of their home. What is a reasonable step to take? Do people try to jump from something in the 200s to 500, or what do you? Is there a recommendation or a percentage or a formula that folks can go off?
There is no formula or recommendation. Basically, so people do things all different times of their life, right? So what happens is typically your first-time home buyer is not your forever home. Or it's not the home that, let's say when you get married, you might have one child, you buy a house that maybe is smaller than what or you're based on your income right at that time. So it depends on your individual situation. Okay. I've seen buyers go from $250,000 to $500,000 because they have 2 more children, 3 more children, or whatever.
Right.
So they outgrow their house, and we're seeing a lot of that right now because of COVID. And so both spouses are working from home, so they need 2 offices, and they need it to be quiet. So we're seeing that a lot.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But it really depends on, because people get income increases, they get bonuses, they get commissions, they get whatever it is. So it really depends on the stability of the buyer or the borrower and where they're at in their life as far as their life changes. That's when we see most people moving up.
Okay.
I moved up when, I started out with a small house, and then, we had children, and I moved up, and then I moved up again. The average person buys a house like 5 to 7 times in their lifetime.
Okay.
So move up and move down. So, then when you get older and you retire, you may want to move down, or you don't want your house as large as it is because you're tired of cleaning it. It just depends on the individual situation.
Okay. Now, COVID-19, such a unique situation, has kind of impacted our market. I know you guys have so many great programs. You talk a lot about the veterans programs that you guys offer. Has COVID kind of opened up a new kind of loan or emphasized a certain kind of loan that makes more sense given our current environment?
Well, actually, what COVID-19 has done is it's made some additional guidelines. So COVID-19 gave the ability for people to put homes in forbearance, which means they can delay their payments, so that has changed some guidelines. So there's some things like for self-employed buyers, it used to be that if your 2019 tax returns were done, we wouldn't have to have a year-to-date profit and loss and balance sheet. Well, since COVID-19, we need to have that year-to-date profit and loss balance sheet because we want to make sure your income has came back. So if you had to close for 2 months, it's going to affect your year-to-date profit and loss. So what we have to do is look at, okay, the months that you were closed, okay, the months that you were already back, are you back to where you were? So there's some extra steps there. And the other thing is that because of forbearance and because of, furloughs and things like that, we're checking employers. So we get the employer's, name, email address, phone numbers, whatever, to verify that the person is still working there. And we do that 3 days prior to closing. So, and we talk about this in the application. The COVID-19, it kind of had an effect it had an effect that people tightened up, but then they loosened up. So they're back to almost normal. Other than these few items, is that, these few things, can make a difference, but we talk about it a lot. We actually haven't had anybody actually get hurt by it. So it's just an extra step for the buyer that typically we don't always need. So, but everybody filed their July 15 taxes. So then all you need is the 2020's year-to-date profit and loss for self-employed buyers. And then, of course, it's easy on the W-2 employees. We just call their employer and say, hey, are they still working there?
Well,
and that's very easy.
Yeah, I was concerned that you guys are going to have to track all the government PPP and the different programs that were given to employers to see what the real, try to separate real income from stimulus to try to make sure going forward that you had a clear picture.
Well, we do somewhat, but some of the PPP is actually forgiven.
Okay.
So the PPP, so it depends on, who they are. I actually do have a couple customers in process, matter of fact, right now. And all we had to do was show, are you paying it back? What is this for? What are the terms? And it hasn't affected him.
Okay.
But as far as actually the PPP actually helped a lot of people, so they still could actually function and they still could stay in business and pay their employees. So that's actually helped a lot of people.
Okay.
That actually is not a negative. It's actually a positive for those folks that did need to close for a few months. That's actually helped them. So we do take that into consideration, not so much because we know they had to close. Unless you were essential, you couldn't work. Or you couldn't be open. So thank goodness we actually had a PPP loan for those folks.
Okay. And you're listening to Diane Vance. She's from Fairway Independent Mortgage. She's our mortgage expert here in the Consumer Quarterback Show. You can get in touch with Diane through our webpage. How else, Diane? What's the best way for you guys get to you?
Well, I have a lot of information on my webpage. It's my name, Diane Vance .com.
Okay.
And my phone number is 727-647-8199. And they can text or call me.
Great.
And but the website has a lot of information if they want to go on there. I have a lot of videos and things like that.
DianeVance.com. Check it out. Diane Vance, our Fairway Independent Mortgage. She's our mortgage expert. We're coming into a break now. We're going to come back. We've got Richard Alexander going to join us. TrustAlexanderLaw.com is his site. He's got always good stuff for us. Come on back. Consumer Quarterback Show rolls on.
This is Warwick Dunn, and you're listening to the Real Estate Quarterback Show hosted by my man, Brandon Rhymes.
To get in touch with Brandon, call 813-670-7372. Online at consumerqb.com. listening to the consumer quarterback, Brandon Rhymes, cutting through your typical media nonsense and offering you a rational and unbiased perspective on current events and life in Tampa Bay. Online at consumerqb.com.
That's right. ConsumerQB.com is where you can find all our partners on the Consumer Quarterback Show. We've gone out of our way to go out in the community and find these folks, and they're taking time out of their busy day to come in and talk to you and provide some information and some knowledge to empower you in the marketplace. So as consumers, we want your dollar to go a little farther, and that's why we've assembled the folks that we have. We've got great sponsors on the show as well. I'm going to tell you about one right now is Golf Cart Depot. Golf Cart Depot got together with Brandon, and now he drives all over the place knocking on doors and selling real estate with a golf cart. So not only does he run around in the golf cart all the time, now the kids found out it has a golf cart, so they grab a ski rope and a skateboard, and they're gone all day long too. So don't think a golf cart is just for golf. They've out here at Golf Cart Depot's got Easy Go, Star, Cushman, every kind of golf cart there is. And like I said, the applications are wild now. Everyone I know has a golf cart. None of them play golf. So everyone is interested in getting a golf cart. Golf Cart Depot is where you got to go to check them out. Brandon says best they can do for you, they'll do. He's always looking to do business with everybody. So Golf Cart Depot is our man. Check him out. Again, Brandon's got one in his house, and I can't wait to get over there and ride it myself. All right, so joining us in studio, Richard Alexander. He's our legal expert here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. And I always want to check in, first of all, I heard that, before the court was down and we were doing court virtually,
yes.
Then some attorneys had to adjust their schedules. Are we back full go, or what's going on over at the courthouse?
Good afternoon, by the way, James. No, we're not. The courts are still in phase one.
Okay.
And I don't think the public really knows how bad it is with the court systems. And it has nothing really to do with what's going on in the state of Florida. It's
right.
just, as the courthouses to me are like giant petri dishes.
Mm.
Everybody comes in there for every possible type of reason. And I don't think the judges are really in any hurry to get to phase two.
Okay.
I know a lot of the judges that they're starting to come around to the Zoom meetings. I know one judge that hasn't even gone Zoom meetings yet. Everything is a phone in. And it's just the way it is right now. I mean, court is just very hard to get into unless it's something serious, like first appearance, of course.
Right.
That has to go. If you want to do a bond reduction, but even then, everything has to be approved by the judge's office. It's difficult to get into court right now.
So you can imagine the challenges facing not just the police, the legal system. We talked before on the show. I think it might be in your last visit, we mentioned the prison system is really taxed with this COVID-19. It's become difficult to house inmates, and it's become a petri dish itself.
Well, one of the things is we're not allowed to go to the jails anymore. Before we had carte blanche. You had to show your bar card and your ID, and you can go to the jail pretty much any time you wanted, unless they were like in some sort of procedural lockdown. But you can see your client whenever you wanted to, and they would get the client out of wherever they are, and you'd have your own meeting room where it was quote unquote secured.
Right.
But now what they're doing is video conferencing with the clients, and once they realize it's an attorney-client conference, the cameras have to, the audio has to go off.
Yeah, I can't imagine how difficult that would be.
Yeah, so because they're not allowed to listen into attorney-client.
That sensitive information between a client and his attorney.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So there are a couple of challenges I didn't even consider there on the technical side. Now, in terms of the court, the schedule, that's also, of course, slowed down because we've got a lot of people that can't get in. That same volume can't get through the courthouse every day.
Yeah, it's. I don't know any other word to say this, but what they're doing is continuing cases ad infinitum. They're continuing in them until September, October. I just had a judge last week. We asked for a jury trial,
right?
And she said, Mr. Alexander, I'm not going to set this case for September, October, because I'm just going to end up canceling it. We're not going to get a jury pool. You're not going to be able to pick a jury, and I'm not going to waste, my calendar's time for. She wasn't mad at me. She was just saying it's not practical right now. So she set it for January.
Wow.
The trial date, and I had to tell my client, I said, listen, you still want a trial, but this is what the judge is telling me. She's just not going to schedule it and then cancel it.
Right.
She's just going to say, hopefully we'll be in phase 2 by January. And it's not good.
Right. I can imagine it gets difficult. If you're somebody, we always think of somebody waiting for justice and how justice delayed. What's the expression, justice delayed? I don't know that one. But anyhow.
Actually, it's a paraphrasing Dr. King.
Yeah.
I believe, yeah.
So forgive my ignorance in terms of my quotations historically there. But I wanted to also
Justice delayed is justice denied.
Correct.
Yeah.
I wanted to get with Richard because Richard is an educator, and I'm curious about students. In the medical profession, COVID-19 has kind of forced a group of doctors to kind of graduate early, kind of pushed them out into the field because, man, we need you in the field right now. This is our time. In the legal profession, how are students, are they being slowed? Is the process slower to graduate, or do we need them? What do you think the mindset is of a student now?
I can tell you in law school what the states are starting to do is, and I don't know how this is going to happen, but they're going to take the bar exam at home. And you're going to be on video from your laptop, and you have to be in constant view of the video. For instance, you can't leave to go to the bathroom because you might cheat.
So you almost might require a moderator per laptop.
Well, it's I don't know how that's going to be possible. I really don't. I don't know how you're going to stop somebody from cheating. I mean, they could have something behind the laptop that they're looking at.
Now, I've never gone through this process. Tell me about the bar. How long is the exam?
The bar is 2.5 days. The half day is for the ethics portion. Some states will waive that part depending on how well you do in ethics at your law school, like a B or higher.
Okay.
But the exam is 2 days. One is the federal portion and one is the state portion, the national versus the state. So one day will be devoted to your particular state's law. For instance, in Florida, there's a lot of questions on probate, as you'd imagine, because we have an elderly population. And Colorado has questions on mining.
Unique to their jurisdiction.
Because there's a lot of mining in Colorado that takes place. Texas has oil and gas on their bar. But the other part is the same exam for the entire state. I mean, for the entire country.
Okay.
So everybody that sits for the bar on that day will take the same exam. That's called the national.
So
Otherwise,
your score relative to those who took it the same day as you, it's more of an apples to apples in terms of other students taking the same test as you nationally.
Right, correct. It's the same exam. It's the same question, same exam throughout the entire country, because it's given on the same day. The next day is your state's portion.
Okay.
And you have to pass both to be.
Given
admitted.
our current situation, we can't bring students together in a big group to test them.
Nope.
Wow.
And really, everybody in the state. I know in Tampa, I took my bar exam at the Curtis Hicks at the Tampa Convention Center.
Okay.
It used to be at the Curtis Hickson, and that was a madhouse.
Giant group.
So it's not going to happen.
Now, in terms of your teaching,
And
Richard
the bar's
himself,
coming up, by the way.
Okay, Richard's a teacher
Yes.
and an educator. Now, how has your situation changed in terms of students and professor?
Online.
Okay.
Which I'm not a fan.
Now, tell me the difference right away. The first thing is the less interaction you don't care for.
Here's the thing. I've been an educator for approximately 20 years. I've always taught at the collegiate level, and there is no substitute for the closeness, the intimacy, the imparting knowledge right there, and seeing the light bulb go off.
Right.
It's a great thrill. It's a drug. For me, it is.
Right.
Because you're on stage at that moment, and everybody's watching you. Everybody's there because you have something that they want to know, and it's a tremendous high. And online, I've taken classes online, and I'm just not a fan. I hate the Zoom meetings.
Right.
So this is not going to be any different.
It's kind of antiseptic.
It's not conducive to resolving anything, in my opinion. It just isn't. I can't tell you, James, how many times I've worked a case out because I went up to the opposing counsel, introduced myself, and we were able to talk about it right there.
Right.
And work it out right there.
And also, I imagine, as a seasoned attorney, and of course, Richard Alexander is somebody who goes to trial, so he's used to the courtroom setting. You have some intuition about you. So you're going to notice expressions, You're going to see reactions, you're going to kind of get a feel for the vibe in the room, and that may direct your future actions.
There's no question about it. It's a whole part of, just body language, just relaying on your judgment, your experience, your years of working in that profession. In my opinion, all of that goes out the window in Zoom meetings, now, including online teaching.
Jury selection would be difficult too. That's one of those things where you're trying to use that intuition.
I don't think it's going to happen online. I don't see how it could possibly happen, because a big part of it, jury selection, introducing yourself, is the only time you get the chance to talk to the jury.
Right.
Introducing your client, and then developing that rapport with a potential juror.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen via Zoom.
I could see it being very difficult. When you are in the courtroom and you're getting a feel for what the opposition is presenting, is that when you make are you making strategic decisions based on what's happening at the moment, or have you kind of gone in there with an outline and a game plan and kind of thought through how you're going to play things?
That's a great question. The answer is both.
Okay.
I get prepared. I get 3-ring binders of all my material, but a lot. Every time, not only do I have to go on script, but I have to go off the script as well.
So get prepared and try to think through everything you can, but then be ready because something's going to occur or could occur that would cause you to realize another fact might need to be unveiled here.
Yeah, I mean, I wish it was like Hollywood. Everybody had their own script and line. You know, we all knew what everybody else was going to say, but yeah, that's not reality.
Well, that's what I thought. I put together a couple of fictional lawyers from our movies and TV
I saw that.
with Richard, and we're going to have a little discussion about that because it's my opinion that I think kids today are very aware of the fame and fortune that lawyers have on television, and I don't know if they see the nuts and bolts or the dirty work that has to be done. We're going to talk a little bit about the impressions you get from the media of what a lawyer is versus what Richard sees in the actual courtroom. And I got a great feel-good story when we come back. You know, we hear a lot about police and antagonistic relationships with communities. I got a story that's going to show you there's more than that going on in the world. Come on back and check us out, the Consumer Quarterback Show. I'm back with Richard Alexander and a feel-good story for you, consumerqb.com.
Hey, this is Grant Cardone, and you're listening to Consumer Quarterback Show, hosted by my friend Brandon Rhymes. Do not touch that dial. I'll come right through the radio and grab your throat.
To get in touch with Brandon, call 813-670-7372. Online at consumerqb.com. You're listening to the Consumer Quarterback, Brandon Rhymes, online at consumerqb.com. Brandon is Tampa Bay's #1 consumer advocate for real estate and financial advice. Call Brandon today at 813-670-7372.
That's right. You can give Brandon a call anytime you want. If all your real estate needs, he's a platinum MVP team and a Keller Williams agent for you. He's built the Consumer Quarterback Show to provide a little information, some knowledge, some wisdom for all the consumers out there in the Tampa Bay marketplace. We've assembled a group of partners that come out, take time out of their busy day to come in the studio and talk to you a little bit about what they've seen in the world. And we've got a group of sponsors as well. And one of our sponsors is the Bilmar Beach Resort. We talk to Clyde Smith all the time on the show, a great partner to the show. And the Bilmar Beach Resort, what a unique property. If you really want to get away and get out there to the beach, check out the Bilmar Beach Resort. You're familiar with what a Hilton hotel looks like and what any corporate chain is. That's not what you get with the Bilmar. It's kind of a unique, it's a hotel with a little charm and its own style. So give Clyde a call directly. Call the Bilmar Beach Resort. Find out what he can do for you in terms of rates. Tell him you heard about it on the Consumer Quarterback Show, and he will hook you right up. That's the Bilmar Beach Resort. Again, give Clyde a call directly. All right, before the break, we were visiting a little bit with Richard Alexander, and I teased a feel-good story for you, and I wanted to get into that a little bit because we had a feel-good story about the police, and we've heard a lot of interaction on the news between protests and police and a lot of negativity between the two. I got a story here that'll maybe show you there's a little more than that in the world, and this is about a struggling single mom who won the lottery. She hit the lotto. She hit a lottery, not the whole lotto. She just won a scratch off. She got $100 winnings. She's a struggling single mother in Kansas City, but she donated her $100 lottery winnings to an officer that was shot in the line of duty. Kansas City Police Department has returned the favor and raised more than $14,000 for this woman and her family. With only $7 to her name and bills past due, Shatara Williams is a single mother, lost her job a month ago due to the pandemic. She found a $1 bill in a grocery store parking lot, and she bought a scratch-off ticket with it, and she won $100. Her 12-year-old daughter, Rakaya, suggested they donate the money to the Kansas City police officer who was shot in the line of duty on July 2nd. The officer is still in intensive care. She said she won $100, and I said we should donate it to the police officer that got shot for his family to go eat so they could see him, Rakaya said to her mother. Despite her financial struggles, Shatara agreed. The detectives were really there for us, she said. Now, this is a woman, I didn't tell you the backstory is going to really blow your mind. This is a woman whose son was murdered. Okay, so Rakara, her older brother, was involved in the detectives had to come into their house for a murder. The detectives were really there for us. They were there for us more than anyone can imagine. They did things they didn't have to do. They came to see my kids. They did a lot. They were fathers and therapists. They were everything for us. I've never seen the empathy that I had from total strangers. They gave us hope. They were there for us. She called the department days later and made the donation. Well, when Sims made the donation, she didn't leave her name and number. It took the police days to track her down. We at KCPD shared this wonderful act of humanity on our social media. Hundreds of people said they wanted to help her out. However, the woman called with an unlisted number, didn't leave her name. Took us a while to track her down. Finally, they found her name. They started the GoFundMe. She's a struggling single mom. We found her. This act of kindness touched Kansas City. They wanted to give back. The entire city so far has raised $14,000 for this lady. And again, if you're listening on the radio, that's a touching story. But if you're watching on television, you'll realize the folks involved in the story are all different colors and ethnicities. It wasn't just a specific white people, black people, Hispanic people, all the different officers of different races, and Shatara herself, an African-American, and none of that mattered. Her daughter saw an opportunity to do something good, and they did something well. That's what we talk about here on the show every single day, the random act of kindness and the ability to do something beyond yourself. I just wanted to share that with you guys and show there's a little more going on with the police than you might hear about on the news. All right, so back to Richard. And Richard, if we could, I just want to touch on the federal thing you brought up during the break. We've seen an increase in the response from the federal government in terms of these protests. How does that play out legally, or what do you see legally behind this?
Well, a lot of people really don't understand federalism, and that's really what this whole thing is about. And to understand federalism, you have to understand that the federal government and the states, they have a very unique relationship. In order for it to work, they have to agree to work in this delicate dance, and that the state sometimes will give up its sovereignty willingly, voluntarily, in order so the federal government can, take over. So there are certain fields and industries, for instance, that the federal government has decided to take over completely, and the states really have no say. For instance, aviation. Right? Remember on 9/11, every plane was ordered to, hit,
ground.
They were ordered to find the nearest airport and land. Right. Because the federal government said so. They're in complete control of aviation. Gotcha. They're also in complete control of securities law. They're also in complete control of coining money. And a lot of times the states and the federal government share power. Police, for instance, we have local law enforcement, the sheriff's office, we have the FDLE, right. And the federal government also has their own police force. Sure. And there are certain things that the states do exclusively of the federal government. For instance, there's no such thing as federal divorce law, right? True. Because the feds, they don't want to mess with that. Right. So, but in order for all this to work, it has to work under a theory, a concept called federalism, in which the states and the federal government agree to support each other, right?
Makes
sense. That's how it can only work. That's why
in conjunction.
That's why the Articles of Confederation failed, because that was our first attempt at forming a government. It only lasted 8 years. The Constitution was our second attempt at forming a government. The first line of the Constitution, in order to form a more perfect union. And, the Constitution addressed many things that the Articles of Confederation didn't actually even think about. Something like coining money, for instance. You know, states were allowed to coin their own money. But, you know, a lot of people don't understand that the President of the United States is the highest ranking federal executive officer. He is the equivalent to Governor DeSantis in the state of Florida, because Governor DeSantis is the highest ranking state constitutional officer.
Okay.
So they have the same amount of powers, except one is at the federal level and one is at the state level. And, you know, the optics on the president sending in the military to a state are horrendous.
Right.
What if the military doesn't want to do it? And he is the commander in chief. But there is also an insurrection act where the president's allowed to send out military in order to, you know, quell a rebellion or an insurrection. But that's been used very, very sparingly throughout this country's history. So what can the president do? Well, as far as any federal property or a federal employee, federal officers, Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C. is a federal enclave.
Proper.
So he's allowed to do anything when it comes to that because he is the highest ranking federal executive officer.
Okay.
So a lot of people think that, you know, he can do almost anything he wants. He just decides not to. Well, that's not true. It's certain things he can and can't do. I mean, it would be horrible for him to tell every state in the union to shut down. The governors can say, yeah, I don't think so.
Right.
Or, yes, we'll follow your advice. Thank you, Mr. President. So it's a very delicate balancing act filled with a lot of different, you know, legal encumbrances.
Can you recall a time in the past with a similar situation? Was there a previous? I mean, of course, my historical knowledge is not as great as yours.
The most famous is Dwight Eisenhower sending in the military after the U.S. Supreme Court just ruled on Brown versus Board of Education.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that segregation among the schools was unconstitutional.
So federal got involved federally.
Well, because the governor said, we're not having any black children attend any white schools.
Gotcha.
And Eisenhower said, we'll see about that. He sent in the U.S. military.
Did not require approval or consent from the state governor.
I mean, there's very famous video and photographs where the U.S. military is escorting these children to school.
We've all seen it, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. As a matter of fact, there's a scene in Forrest Gump. Remember where he's hanging out by the building and he's watching them go by? And
you should be the host because that segue is perfect for our little movie segment. I just wanted to ask Richard if the kids today are aware of some of the movies with lawyers. You know, there's so many great movies that have legal issues or courtroom scenes in them. Do the kids ever say, I want to be this or that? I noticed on the list I gave you, you know, everyone's familiar with what Atticus Finch is the most popular one, Gregory Peck in To Kill a Mockingbird. But I don't think kids today are familiar with that. They might know Daniel Kaffee from The Few Good Men with Tom Cruise there. Anyone they mention or anything you ever see a kid mention or talk about?
Well, we talk about the comedy, you know, My Cousin Vinny, which is on your list here. A lot of people know Tom Cruise because the famous line, you can't handle the truth.
That's right.
You know, but actually one of my favorites is not even on here and didn't even have a lawyer in the movie.
Tell me.
12 Angry Men.
Oh, yeah. We spoke briefly about that in the past. I thought that was an awesome. I mean, I really love movies that rely on characters and dialogue, you know, and that you're kind of in that little scene. You can really feel the action.
Heavy dialogue. Yeah. But the entire movie takes place in the jury room.
That's right.
Which is phenomenal because you get to see is this what they really talk about?
I'm curious to know, have you been involved in a case where it went forever? You thought that they're still deliberating? I can't believe it.
I've had cases where it ended in a mistrial. Absolutely.
After a long deliberation?
Right. And we asked the judge to deliver what's called a dynamite charge, which is the judge will have the jury come back out and say nicely, implore them that they really need to make a decision. But sometimes you can't.
Just a straight deadlock.
Actually, one of my favorite cases took place in West Palm Beach.
Okay.
And we took a .409 breath alcohol to trial because the state was offering the max. So we just said, why not take it to jury trial? I mean, what's the worst that can happen? The state's offering the max. So we went to trial 5-1 to acquit.
Wow.
We had a hung jury. Yeah, have to be unanimous.
You got to go to know.
Yeah, we had a hung jury.
All right, we're wrapping up the show here. I want to give Richard an opportunity. Richard, what's the best way to get in touch with you if folks out there want to either be a student or get in touch with you for legal advice?
I'm about as social media as it gets, man.
Okay.
Trust Alexander Law, Attorney Richard Alexander. I'm so simple to find.
trustalexanderlaw.com. Real easy to find. Of course, he's on consumerqb.com, like all our partners are on the Consumer Quarterback Show. I want to thank Brandon again for giving me the opportunity to sit in his chair here and while he's on vacation. This show is not just fun to host, it's educational as well. I learn something every time I host for him. So again, I want to thank him, and I want to encourage all the folks out there, check out consumerqb.com. All our partners are listed there. We've gone out of our way to vet these folks. They've taken the time out of their day to provide some information for you. It's a great relationship, and we want you to check it out. So again, thank you to Brandon, and thanks for all you folks listening. This is the Consumer Quarterback Show. Check us out online, consumerqb.com.
You've been listening to The Consumer Quarterback, Brandon Rhymes. Whether it's real estate, consumer, or financial advice, let Brandon call your next play. Contact Brandon Rhymes at 813-670-7372. That's 813-670-7372. Online at consumerqb.com. And join us next time